And then I'm bringing these attendees in. Clay. So I'm gonna give it about 5 minutes. Hopefully more people roll in. Either way, also be looking at the Q&A. So I'll just give it a couple minutes.
Sounds good. I'm sitting in the living room of the space I'm in, so I'm gonna cross my fingers I don't get interrupted by someone.
Oh, yes. I have kids and the wife is coming in from soccer practice. So I'm hoping they're not like coming. I was like, please don't be too loud. And they're like, this is our house.
But I said what I said.
Yes.
Now keep it down now.
Yes. Have you been listening?
To your podcast?
Yeah.
I listened to the very first one,
Mhm.
which was you and what is this different from the one you're doing with Lionel?
This one is, that was the same one, said what I said. Yeah. So we put
Yes,
out,
that's the one I've listened to.
it's good. We had today with Angel, and it is a good soul wrenching get your life together episode.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm really excited for when that comes out. It's just we've been having some amazing conversation with people. So you're on our list for coming up to the podcast.
Okay.
So we have like a whole year's worth. So
You do it how frequently?
we record the second and fourth Tuesdays. So the probably 2 episodes a month will probably come out.
And you have already got your calendar lined up. Wow.
You
Well,
know me.
then again, there's so much happening. So,
hmm hmm
yeah,
There's so much to talk about, which is a good and a bad thing. Bad thing that there's so much to talk about, you know,
right.
but we're getting some joy in there too. We're getting some joy.
Ah, that's what I'm trying to find right now. I have to find ways to squeeze in joy because I have to be intentional about it in this moment.
Yes, that is what I've been looking for is like that, not just spur of the moment, but that intentional joy that really feeds the soul, right now, because it's just too much in the world and I need to find that.
Yes, 100%.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is 7:05 by one of my clocks. So we will get started. Um,
Good.
Yes. So thank you everyone for coming in tonight. We're back with community conversations with BLM New Hampshire. We are doing these once a month. Find us it's usually the third Tuesdays of the month, but scheduling mishaps and soccer, parenting life is just a lot. So we are holding these every month. They are recorded, so we will be posting the recordings and sending them out. So even if you don't catch us the night of, you can always tune in and watch them later. Community Conversations is presented by BLM New Hampshire with myself, Tanisha Johnson, the ED of BLM New Hampshire, hosting. This space is a time for us to come together with community leaders and organizations to discuss what's going on either locally, nationally, worldly, and it could be about issues, it could be about joy, it could be about anything. But tonight we are here with Mr. Jason Green, who is the Deputy Director of ACLU. So I will let you introduce yourself, although I did.
Thank Thank you so much, Tanisha. And I really appreciate the invite to be a part of this conversation. My name is Jason Green. I use he, him pronouns. And like Tanisha shared, I am the Deputy Director for ACLU of New Hampshire. I've been in this role a little over 3 years. I am a person who grew up knowing about the ACLU. So I speak to some people nowadays who have no idea what the organization is. And maybe it's because I grew up in the South and I grew up in Alabama and I grew up in a place where, uh, with that being such a crucial space for the civil rights movement, the ACLU was present And when Black people got locked up and thrown in jail, it was attorneys from the ACLU that would show up and help these folks get out and get back into the streets and then keep this work going. So I grew up knowing about the ACLU, growing up in Alabama, went to college in Alabama. Right after college, I moved to Arizona. And in Arizona, I actually had the opportunity to serve on the board of directors for the ACLU in that state. And it was a privilege to serve on the board just to help them continue the work. But when I moved to New Hampshire, an opportunity presented itself for me to actually work in an official capacity for the organization. So been doing this for 3 years, and it has been amazing thus far.
I will say, I don't think a lot of people do know the history of the ACLU. I think I knew, but didn't really know that the ACLU went back that far in terms of what it was doing for the community and for Black folks and for all the marginalized groups. So if you can expand a little bit about what really does ACLU, because I know some people are just like, oh, they just put out lawsuits, you know?
No, we've been the ACLU started way back in 1920s. So there's a significant and a long history for the work that this organization has been doing. And I will say it was started by a group of attorneys who realized that people's constitutional and civil rights are being harmed, and somebody needs to speak up for those communities that can't speak up for themselves. So the ACLU was standing up for folks during the McCarthy era. The ACLU was taking on cases for queer folks before Stonewall. The ACLU was involved, like I said in the beginning, the ACLU was very involved in the South and the civil rights movement for Black folks. So it started out with a history of attorneys that wanted to stand up for those people who didn't have a voice and were being harmed by the courts. So I'm a layman. I don't know what my rights are. And even if I do kind of know what my rights are, I'm not an attorney, so I don't know what to do in a courtroom to protect myself. So the organization came about as a group of attorneys who was doing this work. Lately, it has evolved a lot because now it is not just attorneys anymore. We now have a policy team. So we now like to say that we are fighting for folks' rights in the courtroom, at the state house, and in communities, because we're no longer just attorneys. We now have attorneys that are fighting for people's rights in the courtroom, but we also have a policy team that are kind of serving as lobbyists and are showing up at the state house to make sure that we are passing laws that are constitutionally correct. We also have a team of organizers who are in the community. We've got an organizer in the North Country, an organizer on the Sea Coast, and we have an organizer whose territory is, we call it the I-93 corridor. So Nashua, Manchester, Concord, those are the three main areas that are being served by our organizers. Um, and we also have a communications team, because we also need to make sure that the work that we're doing and what's happening at the State House and additional attacks on civil liberties, we need to make sure that the public knows. So we have a communications team as well.
Wow. Like I knew I was informed, but it's good to hear that history. Like that is, I think I'm gonna pay a little bit more attention. And if y'all are not, follow ACLU on everything to stay in the know. But tonight we're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion in our education system. If y'all don't know, it has been the buzz, for lack of a better word. It has been the challenge of the state and nationally, whether it's federal, the Department of Education, and shutting down what DEI is in our schools. And I know the ACLU has partnered here in New Hampshire with a couple other organizations. So tell us a little bit about what's being challenged.
So that what you're talking about right now is probably the most recent DEI case that we have. This is our third DEI case in current years. This case, we are representing, God, there's several clients in this case, including the NEA, including 4 school districts,
Mhm.
including James McCann, who is a DEI consultant and former president of the NAACP, including Dottie Morris, who may be one of the most prolific DEI people in the state of New Hampshire.
Mhm.
Um, so the one of the more recent DEI laws that came forward, and this has been a theme in all of the DEI cases, DEI laws that we're seeing, and I'm talking about on the state level and on the national level. So many of these laws are so vague that teachers have no idea what they're supposed to do. And teachers are living in fear of what is going to happen to me if I accidentally do something that goes against one of these laws. Am I going to lose my job? Are people going to be able to just sue me as an individual person? Um, because of the fear of doing something wrong, teachers just don't do anything
Yeah, yeah.
that will introduce diversity to the classroom. And I personally feel like the laws are intentionally vague for that reason, because
Mhm.
if we scare the teachers and they don't know what they're doing, they just won't touch these subjects.
Right.
They're not going to say anything that talks about slavery or the history of African Americans in the United States. They're not going to do anything that will introduce LGBTQ issues to the classroom.
Mhm.
Um, and as a result of this, it's going to be harmful to teachers. It's going to also be harmful to students. And I feel like it's also going to be harmful to the community at large.
Yeah. I recently, as I am the VP of Black Heritage Trail, and they have for years worked with the schools to bring in some curriculum about the history of Blackness in New Hampshire. And recently, as with all the changes, this is another organization that has been challenged by this because teachers are now scared to work with Black Heritage Trail to bring the curriculum in. And we're talking about basic history of people like Ona Judge and, folks, Prince Whipple, how out here in the state. It's not divisive. It's just the history of
It's
New Hampshire.
history.
Right.
It's
And
real history. It's what actually happened.
right. And they're like, nope, we can't touch it. And so it's so sad because when we see the kids come on to the tours for Black Heritage Trail, and I know this because my daughter is a tour guide for Black Heritage Trail, and she would tell me she talked to the kids, these are high schoolers from all across the state, and
Got
they
it.
have no idea of activists, or what that means, or abolitionists and the difference between abolitionists and activists, or they don't know all that. They're like, oh, we know Martin Luther King. Great, I'm glad you
I
do.
feel it's so crucial for the state of New Hampshire because I have to say, when I moved here, I did move here not expecting to see a lot of folks like me.
Right, right.
So, thinking that when I came here, I also expected this to be a state that didn't have a lot of Black history. And when I learned about the work that was being done by the Black Heritage Trail and how they are teaching Black history in every area of the state
Hmm.
and bringing important knowledge about Black folks in all of these areas, uh, it's sad that that incredible amount of work that they've done is being erased. That
And
we cannot teach this, you cannot bring this to a classroom or to
right.
students.
Right, which is the most crucial part. And I'm just like, it's a huge part of their programming. And now organizations like Black Heritage Trail have to rethink about how they do programming. We can't collaborate with schools. So how are we going to get this out to students? We have to rely on the parents and families to bring them to these programs, all the different things that are happening. And, it affects grants and affects funding. I mean, it goes down the line, but it's so, so harmful.
I'm
So,
hearing of ways that it's impacting so many different organizations. So some organizations are now employees have to take pronouns out of their signature because that may go against the law. And
mhm,
there's a lot of organizations who still want to do amazing work. And because of the fear of what the laws would do to me, they're abiding by and following the guidelines of, and I get it, because we still want the work to get done. So whatever way that you have to do for your organization is to continue to exist, for your
Mhm.
organization to sustain, do what you have to do to abide, but make sure that you can still get the work done.
But from a legal perspective, and I think a lot of folks have had this question, is this legal? Like, is this truly something that is actually legal or constitutional that's being done?
And I have to preface this with I am not an attorney, but we have some very educated and very knowledgeable attorneys on our staff. And I actually sat down with thank you for sharing a list of questions that you want answers to. And I sat down with a couple of attorneys from my staff and was like, is this legal? And
Mhm.
that's exactly why they had to file the lawsuit. Because the law is so vague, we are questioning the validity of this law. Can
Mhm.
you pass a law that is this vague? And I love the example that one of them gave me. It is like trying to pass a law that says you can't be naughty. But
Mm,
then how do you define naughty?
yeah.
How can you enforce naughty?
Mm,
So what happens is now you have two problems because one, people don't know how to comply.
right.
So when the law is so vague, teachers will sit in silence and not do anything because I don't know what I do. I don't know what to do. When the law is very vague, but then there's still things that they're required to teach by the law.
Right.
But now all of a sudden, even those things that I'm required to teach because I'm a teacher, even those things I'm required to teach are suspect.
Hmm.
They are standing in this place of we don't know what to do. And they share with me that the problem is twofold. One is people don't know how to comply, but two, the second reason is it leaves it up to arbitrary enforcement. So now, not just for the teacher, but for police or for anybody that is trying to regulate teachers, what do you enforce? Like, how do you enforce a law that's so vague that we really don't know what the law is saying?
Well, it,
So our answer would be that it's not legal,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's going to be what we twist defined by the court. And I will say this because we have had this is our third DEI case in the
Mhm.
matter of a couple of short years. We have been successful in blocking all of these laws. Right now, none of these laws are being enforced
Oh, so the
because we have been successful.
yeah, so the paperwork that the school districts were given to like complete this and go through all of your contracts and all the things and make sure they're ended, they don't have to do that.
I'm gonna answer it this way. Right now, we have been successful in blocking all of these laws. I
Mhm.
will also add, people are still in fear because even though we have been successful in blocking them, the like we know that there's going to be appeals. We know that we still have a state house that is not on our side. So even though we have been successful, and I feel like we will continue to be successful, um, teachers are still in this space of we know that specific law has been challenged,
Mhm.
but we also know that the people who are running the state, who sign our checks,
Yeah.
don't want us doing this. We also know that the state house is going to reintroduce this again next year. So
Mhm.
even though it's not allowed a law right now, they're still trying to make it a law. So I know that all these eyes are on me and other teachers. So they're still sitting in this space of fear.
And it's not just curriculum, right? It is after school programs or the after school clubs, I should
It's
say.
not just curriculum because it's not just teachers. If you look at the clients we have, not only do we have schools, but we also have people that just work in DEI because it is affecting more than just teachers.
Mhm.
Yes.
And it also is not even just on race and queerness or culture. It really is also targeting every single other thing that could be DEI as well.
This can impact folks with disabilities. It's not just, and I think that's what people think. Okay, as long as it's queerness and it's blackness, some people, let's be honest, some people are going to sit back and go, okay, yeah, that's fine,
Right.
because we
Right.
don't like the queers and we don't like the blacks anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But let's be real, it is not just about that. It is also about people with disabilities. It is about many marginalized groups, and we have to be aware of that.
So when we talk about those other marginalized groups, because I know we're focused on education, and I know I've been in conversation with folks that are just like, oh, it's only just, your DEI club after school, and there's no more Black-centered clubs in the school. And I'm going, no, I don't think you realize how much history or how much education, how many spaces are centered in academia when it comes to children who have disabilities and all the other things. And so I may not say
I
this.
want to jump. I will let
Go
you
ahead.
finish in a second, but I want to address that because we can't just say it's not just about the LGBTQ groups or it's not just about the Black groups because what if it were just about the LGBT groups or about the Black groups? Those spaces existed for a reason because those groups and those individuals and those people did not feel safe.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
So it's just about those diversity groups they can't meet anymore. Those groups need to meet. Those people need a place to exist. We like I don't want to minimize that because if it were just about them, it would still be an issue.
Yes. Mm. Listen, I know you're preaching to the choir here, and I know the folks that are watching agree. Um, when it comes to disabilities, veteran status, I mean, we can go down the list of marginalized groups, low socioeconomic status. How does this impact or cause harm for those groups, if we can say it clearly? If you can say it, I mean.
Uh, let's be real. I I don't want folks to think that these attacks are new. Marginalized groups have been under attack for a very long time. There is a reason why we have protected classes. And now that affirmative rights has come under attack, which so many people are very happy that it's a thing of the past, but affirmative action was a thing for a reason. Um, but the attack on marginalized groups has been happening for a very long time. And these people, these groups are protected for a reason because there is a long history of erasing and harming Native Americans, African Americans, LGBTQ folks, the disabled. So for people, if we have a history where we are won't provide homes for or will not provide employment for, and it could be just simple because of that identity. And it is not okay to deny a person their rights because of their identity. We have fought this fight for a very long time. And for some reason, we keep circling back and thinking that it's okay, we're going to strip their rights away again. It's the reason, I mean, that this organization came about to be involved in that fight, and we will continue to stay in that fight because we will not allow those rights to continually be stripped away. There are
What
protected classes for a reason.
What do you say to the folks who um, have the argument that affirmative action is no longer needed, that we all have the same rights? I'm just asking a question. I'm doing my job as a panelist, as a panel host. Yeah.
I hear that question and then I think about what just happened with the killing of Charlie Kirk. And again, I will always say that I will never celebrate someone being killed, but I brought his name up just because I want to talk about some of the comments that some of the quotes that he made, and that was quotes that he was naming names of Michelle Obama and Katanji. Like these people have very slow processing brains. I mean, he made the comment that, to paraphrase, Black folks are not smart.
Right, right. Hmm.
So as long as that mentality exists, and let's be real, he was popular because others share that same opinion. There are others of that mindset. Um, that's the harm that's being happened because that kind of thinking continues to be a real thing.
Yeah. What, I'm going to add to that and say, I know over the years in the education system, there have been fights for the system to be inclusive and to not ostracize children with disabilities, to not separate and put in what used to be back in my school days, where, you went to the different classrooms or what we used to call the trailer, like those kids were different. And so we fought over the years to change that, and now we're all in the same classroom, which is amazing. And I know a lot of folks will say, "Oh, ever since the whole everybody has to be passed up, people are just getting passed in grades and things like that." When we say things like that, but then fight for these types of rights for our children with disabilities, how do you like combat that argument of yes, they're all in the same classroom getting the same education, it is inclusive, but we still need to have our space?
Interesting question, because I am that is a great question, and I'm going to answer this, and this is going to be unpopular opinion. Um, I anybody who tells me they're a teacher, I so go. I frequently ask, why do you still do it? Because it is a no-win situation for teachers. Um, I'm a huge advocate for because anybody that is in that profession is doing it for the love of that profession and for a love of kids. Um, they are not doing it for the money. They are not doing it for the glory. And they're doing it with many different burdens on their back. Because I frequently feel like teachers are not getting the support that they need from administration. Teachers are not getting the support that they need from many parents, and are getting teachers are getting attacked and are
Mhm.
suffering violence from students in the classroom. And I'm looking
Yeah.
at what teachers are going through, and I'm going, how in the world are you doing it? It has been a love for the kids. Um, Now I forgot your question. Because I meet people all the time who are in this profession, and I'm like, I don't know how you're doing it. I don't know why you're doing it. Just
Mhm.
because. So I say that we'll get back to your question because I need to. I have forgotten what the question is. Honestly, um, the education system is suffering so much right now. So but to go in and just try to dismantle everything is not the way to solve it. And I feel like that's what the administration is trying to do. They're trying to tear everything down.
Well, and I will ask this. I know there's a lot of focus on K through 12. We won't even get into college and all that stuff, but there's always a focus on K through 12 and not really a focus on early care and education with our preschool and infant and toddler space. And that's a space that has been fighting for DEI, or parents have been fighting for some DEI. And preschool and infant toddler spaces get away with it because New Hampshire doesn't have a lot of public pre-K. It's very limited. And so there hasn't been a need or reason because they're privately funded. You pay for care. They can take you off the list if you want to, and childcare is going through such a rigmarole right now. So when this,
People sit on childcare lists for over a year.
I know.
There are young we the state of New Hampshire is in such a crisis. Young people and families will not move to this state, and there's a reason why. It's because our education system is barely funded. If you move to this state, it's going to be impossible to find housing. And if you move to this state with children, it is going to be impossible to find childcare. So, with all these obstacles in place, it is so hard to get anyone to want to move to this state in the first place.
Well, and it's so hard for our families, and I'll say our families of color, to find a center that has teachers that look like them, or even has books that looks like them, posters on the wall that looks like them. And so as we do this DEI fight, it's like, where do we bring in that age level into this fight? Or how can we bring it in? I know this is off script, so I just thought of it. But like, how do we bring that into this fight?
That is only going to happen by influencing school boards.
Mm,
So we need folks to show up at school boards. We need folks to support school boards, and we need folks to run
mhm,
to get elected to school boards. And we need for those people to be people that look like us
mhm.
or allies of people that look like us. Um,
And when the people that look like us run, we really do need the support backed behind it because we are out there running, but we don't get elected in, whether it's we're not a known face or just simply because we're black, all of that. But I'm finding that maybe here along the seacoast, folks are running and can't get past the vote, and that's the struggle right now is as the seacoast is becoming a little bit more diverse. We're at like what,
I
50
will say Seacoast does have the best vibes in the state.
facts. That is,
But you didn't hear that from me.
we'll take that out of here because nobody can judge you on it. But it's hard, to get our folks to run too because of the scrutiny that comes with it. Like folks are digging up your names and folks are looking at your history, and heaven forbid you put something iffy on social media. It's a whole just problematic thing. And I think it scares our people.
A long time ago, I wanted to run for office. Many moons ago. So like undergraduate, I was a double major, history, political science. But
Mhm.
the political science was because I wanted to be involved in politics. When I moved to Arizona, I joined the Young Democrats. I became the VP of membership for the state. Um, joined one of the Democratic Party caucus groups. Like I was really active in politics. And I really thought I wanted to run for office. And then I started to pay attention to what was happening. I remember joining I was volunteering for one of the campaigns for Leah Landrum Taylor. She was a Black lady in the city of Phoenix running for office. And
Mhm.
I looked at the scrutiny she was under while she was running for office. Now, she, now she got elected and she did some amazing work while she was in the city. And but I have to say, the attacks that you get when you're running for office, I understand the fear of folks that don't want to do it, but the work needs to get done. So sometimes we have to move beyond the fear and look
Right.
at the impact that we can have on the other side of that.
So if these laws come to pass, say we lose the fight, knock on wood, we don't. What's at stake?
Freedom.
Mm,
Like literally, if we lose these battles, freedom is at stake, jobs are at stake, housing is at we would be reverting back to what going back to when America was great.
mm,
People had the power to not give you a promotion just
Mm.
because I don't like the way you look, not allow you to move into this house because I don't like your nappy hair, not allow you to come into my restaurant because you're in a wheelchair and I don't want to have to move things around just to allow it to find the table for you. That's what's at stake. Taking us back to all the harmful things that we were doing to marginalized groups before these rights came to be.
And that's heavy as a parent with kids growing up and the next generation to have to start this fight where our past generations fought already. We're literally
That's what kills me the most. How are we here when we have done this before? How did we lose Roe v. Wade? How are we there again? Like all these fights, we've done this before, but yet here we are.
Mhm. What about the folks who are like, you know what? Once he's out of office, this will be all over and it'll be right back to normal. Is it that much of an easy fix?
He would not have the ability to do the things that he did if he didn't have a Congress that is allowing it, and he has a Supreme Court that is allowing it. So let's say he does lose the election, and we are successful. Let's not that he loses the election. We know that he is not going to leave that office voluntarily.
Hmm.
Uh, he does not have the ability to run again. But let's say that with the next time we come around and we are somehow successful in getting somebody that we like into the White House.
Hmm.
Even if that happened, that person will still have to fight the other two branches of the government in order to make anything happen. So it's
And
not as easy as soon as he's gone, we can just turn everything around. It's just not that simple. The harm that he's doing is going to have long-standing effects.
well, and add to that, whoever's in the Supreme Court would need to die pretty much, right? Before we could even get someone else in there.
Correct. Yes.
Oh, you're not giving me any hope, Jason.
You know, what gives me hope though is we still have people in the fight.
Hmm.
We still have you and the remarkable team at Black Lives Matters. We still have Heidi and the team at New Hampshire outright. We still have, I mean, there are people who are still in this fight and they're not going to give up just because the odds are stacked against us. We still have some teachers that are in this to do the right thing. We still have people that are showing up and raising their voices at protests, saying that we're not going to stand for this. So I'm encouraged when I see that. I'm also encouraged when I'm in spaces with young people because I feel like there are so many young people who are just, I look at the amount of empathy that so many young people have for people that don't walk in their shoes. So they have the ability to see why it's important to have it. It's important for my school to have space
Hmm.
for folks. They see why it's important for my school to have a space for people of color. Um, so there are things that give me glimmers of hope.
Yeah. So what can folks do to support this, to continue the fight? Like how do parents or how do community members join this fight?
Um, One, always raise your voice
Mhm.
when you see wrong being done, and raise your voice to your state reps.
Mm.
State reps need to hear from their constituents to know when they're doing the wrong thing. Also, I encourage folks to support organizations that are in the fight, and that could be showing up with your time or showing up with your money. But organizations need both of those to continue to exist, especially in this climate where they're trying to dismantle all organizations that are trying to stay in this fight. So I'm encouraging folks, show up with your time or show up with your money to help these organizations keep their doors open.
Wow. Any last words you got?
Um, I'm going to encourage folks to make our organization one of those organizations that they support. The ACLU is in this fight for the long haul. Um, if you would like to volunteer for our organization, we have an organizing team that welcomes every single phone call and every single email that you're able to send out to us. Um, and my final word is specifically to you, Tanisha. Keep doing the amazing work you're doing.
Aw, thank you. I'm gonna try. I'm finding my glimmers of hope every time I have conversations like this to remind me that there are a lot of us out here still doing this fight, still preaching the good word and doing the good things. So this always feeds my soul when I do these things. When I'm like, oh, down in my dumps, losing my hope, these feed my
Which
soul.
is very easy to happen. And it happens all the time for me nowadays.
Yes,
It
yes.
really, really does.
So I am going to thank you for showing up tonight and having this talk with me. We will do this again, third Tuesday of the month in October, 7 p.m. same time. We'll be talking about what's going on with book bans, what's going to happening to libraries, and all the things. So this will be posted on our website and our soon-to-be YouTube page, and this will go out in our newsletter. And thank you to everyone for giving us your time tonight. We really do appreciate it. And tell everybody about Community Conversations. We're back. Have a good
Cool.
night. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Tanisha. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.